Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another set of Genshin songs. Yet another set from Harshit as well in the comments that narrowly won out another comment by like seriously one like, but either way, he is the winner, so we're going to be giving these a listen. This is Sifu Moto and Dazzling Moon of Metztli. I'm expecting these to sound kind of similar in tone to the prior ones from the same album and same area, so I guess I do kind of have an idea this time of what to expect, but I don't truly know what the vibe is going to be from either one of these. So without further ado and enough yapping, let's go. Oh. Hey. Let's go. You never expect the vocals right off the bat, you know? I love the chords on that. What a beautiful sound. Let's go. Ooh, this is kind of vibey. I love the variety in the voices as well. Sometimes it sounds really cool having everybody in unison, but having all of the voices kind of not quite gelling together sounds really cool as well. It's almost like there's a harmony in that chaos there. It's done already. Man, I could listen to that for a couple more minutes. That was really fun. I love that this song had a little bit more of the Swahili African vibe than the other songs I've listened to more recently. I love that energy being put in there. But what I think is really cool about this one specifically is actually the lyrics. They're a little bit more sad than I think people are feeling out from the song. It's a little bit of that sentiment of if we lose our way even to the end, we pray that our ancestors will be able to guide us towards the light. Kinda. It's a very like kind of rides that line of being depressing, but also just like there's something uplifting about having something in a belief system that you believe that there is another life after that. And while I'm not going to get preachy on religion, I'm an atheist to begin with, I do overall respect the process that people need to go through in order to feel like there is something more, so that inevitability of the end doesn't like take over. So that's kind of what I feel like this song is doing. It's slightly uplifting even with the negative overall vibes that it has. The music itself is pretty uplifting, and I think that that's where that juxtaposition really comes full. It feels more like a request than it does a denial of reality or anything like that. Like, it doesn't feel like the person is at the end. It just feels like they're being comforted and warmed by that concept. So I think the lyrics of this one are actually really cool, and the fact that it of course references fire and like being in the land of fire, that totally tracks, especially since this whole area is kind of inspired by the Ring of Fire on Earth, so it's just kind of neat. But there's not really too much else I can talk about and not have to repeat myself from prior videos, because it's pretty much all the same instruments and influences that I've talked about before. There was the pan flutes in there, there was some percussive stuff in there that I've already talked about. It's just like, okay, cool. I just don't want to keep retreading the ground if there's nothing really stand out about a song that I haven't already talked about. So I think I'll leave this song here and we'll get on to the next one and see what that has to offer. Ooh. That's a little different. Ooh. Ooh. That's a lot of texture. There's a lot of percussion in this. And I like that not all of it is lining up on beat either. Also the mixing for this one too, because like one of the shakers is all the way over here. Ooh, ooh. I didn't expect that. What an interesting choice of melodic instrument. Kind of feels like a PlayStation 2 era casino theme. Vibing with it. I love those muted string plucks in the background. That was really cool too. This one definitely has some stuff I can actually talk about here, some more fresh concepts being brought in. The instrument choices are definitely standout for this one, just because there was what I believe is actually a synth and not a physical instrument, which has been largely the rest of these songs. They haven't relied on synths too much unless it's been like low-key stuff like in the bass section, but like this was like the lead was basically a pluck synth, and that was kind of an interesting choice given everything that we've heard before. And I'm listening to it, finding myself intrigued by the direction they were taking with the vibes of this one. It did still kind of have that bossa nova backbone to it, so we're still in the same area of the world as far as inspiration comes for the music, but the overall vibe was just a lot more casino than I really anticipated. I saw a few comments down below this that were talking about how it felt like a Pokemon game, and yeah, very much so, like the game centers and stuff that you would play has a very similar feel to it. You could pull an inspiration from any of those games and have kind of the same vibe. They go for that same feeling, and that bossa nova backbone is used in everything in that world, especially like elevator music and stuff. It's like the most common inspirational pull that they decide to grab, and it's all fitting, but it's just such an interesting choice. There was a lot of things going on here. You had some physical drums in there, of course. There was a lot of shaker work, a lot of things that were just placed in different parts of the ear that were just creating this odd kind of texture, but it felt so right, even though it felt so wrong. Like things were lagging behind a little bit. There's kind of like this jerk to it when some of the shakers were like just kind of hitting the beat. They were just slightly off, like a 16th off or something like that. And that organic feel was kind of helping pull everything together. Even when the synth came in, it didn't really feel too much like a synth just because it felt so naturally played. I kind of wonder if that was played by a keyboardist or something more directly and not just a synth in a DAW somehow, and utilizing that more organic feel that comes with having a physical player play it instead. You kind of get more of that slightly offbeat feel to it. You can do that digitally. You can add some of that organic energy to it and just kind of make things slightly off time in order to feel a little bit more naturalized and normalized, except for maybe the shakers. Those felt pretty good as far as the organic sound went, and as far as they sat in the mix, they felt like they were recorded with the microphone. They could have been a great sample, but I feel like this was no different from the rest, largely using organic instruments, and they just had that synth over the top. But again, that could have just been an actual sample being played from somebody behind an actual keyboard too. So you just get all this feel to it, and that feel that you get from people actually playing the instruments and doing all the sample work is exactly what makes these songs feel so good. A lot of music that comes out of the gacha music scene, while it may sound brilliant and be extremely well composed, you can often tell which ones are and aren't using samples compared to other songs. There's just something about it that most people can naturally lock into and kind of feel out just themselves by ear. That's just truly the human condition. You can kind of tell when something's not quite right or too clean versus people who are actually playing and are constantly just a little offbeat. I was actually playing some drum parts and recording for an old friend of mine back in my hometown recently, and he plays this very like Bob Dylan feel to his music where it's all very just organic and it's just him and a guitar, and while he may not be the best vocalist, he's a great writer. And it's like, okay, cool. He wanted me to play drums to that when he's already recorded his own version of it with him and the guitar, and that's very hard hard for me to be able to play to because I'm kind of locked in as a drummer to his rhythm, and it's usually the other way around. So like I was constantly trying to readjust my own tempo to a recording that exists, and while I could kind of nudge some of it in post and fix it up a little bit, that organic feeling was a little bit too confusing. And I actually talked him into letting me re-record the drums first and then having him re-record over that, so you get a little bit more of that consistency in there because you can truly feel it. It won't feel bad, it'll still feel organic because I'm still playing it organically, but when you're trying to match those and you don't really have everything locked down, it can just go from, oh, that feels so nice and organic, to, oh god, they're not playing together at all. So there is this like fine line in the center, whereas like if we were both in the same room recording everything all at once, it would sound fine because we can adjust to each other. But if we're separately recording and he starts with the melody and everything first, that can be very difficult for me to follow. So all that to say is that there is this razor's edge of, you can either sound way too clean or way too organic and ruin the entire feel of the piece. So there is that line to find, and this song definitely did that. I, again, don't know how much of it was actually recorded organically versus in synths or anything, but it feels organic, and there is definitely a lesson to be had there when it comes to music. If you can't all record together, start from the rhythm section and record on top of that. That is definitely the takeaway from this, just because of how beautiful this song sounded with all those delays and everything. And if you didn't have that done beforehand, it wouldn't have worked. All those slight delays and the percussive stuff, it just would not have felt nearly as good if they had done it the other way around. But I think I've yapped plenty about that, so thank you all so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to have any other songs reacted to from Genshin or any other game, by all means let me know and I will do my best. I think Harshit had another song that he wanted me to get to, but I could not fit it into this video. But maybe that one will be requested again and we'll get to that next time. We'll have to see, but I guess until then, if you enjoyed this video and you want to follow me and support me for more stuff in the future, I've got a lot coming up. So if you want to see all that, you know how to follow me and support me, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye!